It's the Awaken Life podcast again. I'm Scott Landison. Today I'm with Chuck Hoskovec. Did I say it right?
You did, you bet.
I realized today I was talking to our mutual friend Caleb, and I realized I hadn't practiced your name until I was like, "Yeah, I'm going to be on a podcast with Chuck Hoskovec," and I'm like, "Is that right?" And anyway, so I did practice it at least once before we jumped on. You know, our other friend Brendan, who's been on Funnel Flow, I accidentally, like, I was so nervous about his last name, I accidentally said Brandon, even though I knew it was Brendan, and I just looked like horrible. But anyways, so it's Chuck. Go ahead.
Hey, Hoskovec. Yes, Hoskovec.
All right. And Chuck is with HoSquared Marketing. I just noticed you're a co-founder. I didn't realize you're a co-founder, so you have to let me know about that. You're up in Renton, Washington. Is that right?
That is correct. Yep.
We've never met in person, never shook hands, never hugged, but I feel like, brother from another mother. We've been hanging out for the last few years consistently every Wednesday morning on our friend Caleb's episode 1, by the way, Awaken Life podcast, episode 1, Caleb Christensen's mastermind group. That's how we know each other. Well, I guess I was one. We were kind of co-founders of that too, weren't we, Chuck?
We have been in it a long time. Like you were in it longer than me. Not longer, not much, but we've been in it since the inception.
Yeah. So that's how we know each other, through a mastermind, through a marketing mastermind, and see each other regularly every week, but we don't really talk much. So this is going to go deep. And then just before we started, hit the record button, this could be, we talked about, man, it's one of those struggles. We're in one of those entrepreneurial struggles right now. And so this could be a real and raw, maybe. We'll see if you're comfortable with it. But anyway, so tell my audience about you, family, and your work that you do, your business, and your current situation. Give me a brief bio of you.
Okay. So I'm married. It's just me and my wife. We don't have any children. So we travel around a lot to see our nieces and nephews and be a part of their lives. Living in Renton, Washington. It's right in between Seattle and Tacoma. We've been up here since 2004. I do have a digital marketing company, HoSquared Marketing. It's me and my wife. She is a co-founder too. Although she's not like deep into the business, she's got other businesses that she takes care of. We specialize in helping local businesses, small businesses, just get more customers from their websites or digital assets that we own. Let's see, I grew up in Nebraska, so I travel back. We call it the middle, Nebraska, Kansas. So we travel back there quite a bit. And I think, like, for me, like you said, the struggle has been pretty real these past few days with entrepreneurship and owning a business. And it's like, sometimes it's like, oh, do I want to keep going with this, or do I want to go work for somebody else? And then when I really look into it, I'm like, nah, I don't want to give up. Like it's a struggle, but I want to keep going, and I want to be, or I will be successful at it. It's just, sometimes it's like,
Yeah, it's like what's not a should, it's a must, right? It's a must that you will be successful. Well, okay. So for those who, I mean, you do, in the very most basic sense, SEO. But as it says on your LinkedIn page, it says, I'm quoting here, we help companies increase domain authority, traffic, and revenues through high quality white hat link building. So that sounds super fancy, but here's what I want people to know. Like I mentioned, I have come to know, like, and trust you. I would trust anybody I know who says, hey, I need some help with my SEO, my links, my organic stuff. I need to get people to my website. I don't know the ins and outs of all that. It doesn't, it's all like, might as well be talking Greek to me, you know? But one thing I know is Chuck is trustworthy. He's a genuine, trustworthy individual that I would send my mom to, I would send my closest family to. So that's where you've come into my heart, Chuck. So even if, you know, business is in a struggle right now, I know that you take good care of customers. And so anything to add to that? Like, yeah, but I'm not that trustworthy, or would you agree?
No, no, I definitely appreciate that. Those are very kind words, and it is, you know, it's I want to provide for my clients and business partners because they trust me with their business to help, you know, grow their business, and sometimes it's their last dollars that they're just putting towards me, and it's like, okay, that's cool, that's a lot of pressure, but you know, if I stick to our strategies, we provide results.
Mhm. Yeah, and I can relate. So here's the deal. I've had like really successful, like where, you know, you and I want to be people on the podcast, and you know, maybe just like at least we're ahead of me almost in every sense, in every case so far. So maybe I can relate to you because you know, here's my situation. And by the way, pre teaser plug, there's going to be an episode coming out soon where a mentor and friend of mine is going to interview me on the podcast, and I'm going to tell my story on that one. So I won't get too deep into my weeds, but my struggle as an entrepreneur has been, you know, I've been able to, as far as coaching goes, the service that I provide, performance coaching, relationship help coaching, I have been able to develop that skill to a level where I can charge, you know, really high end fees for what I do because I deliver. The
Mhm.
problem with that is it's a time intensive, emotionally draining. Like I'm in it with them quite a bit because I go beyond, above and beyond. So when it comes to my private coaching clients, you know, it's either feast or famine. If I've got a good set of clients right now, I'm making a plenty of money, paying the bills easy. But if I am in the middle of, you know, marketing and bringing on new clients, it's not. So I go that way. And so I've been for the last few years trying to build up my Awaken Life Academy and just say, how much value can I deliver for, say, $100 a month, so I can have, you know, hundreds or thousands of those clients that I'm serving on the group model, and not have to be feast or famine roller coaster on the private coaching clients. So that's been my struggle, like trying to develop that, trying to get that off the ground for the last few years. I feel the pain of any entrepreneur who's in that startup, trying to get to that profitability to profitability level. So there's where I'm at. How do you relate? How do you not relate to that where you are, Chuck?
I'm in the exact same spot, and I think that while you're talking about this, like, um, it is like when you're first starting out, it's at least for me, and it sounds like for you, it's like, okay, we get a group of clients, and we're doing well, and we're servicing them. And for me, like I slow down a little bit on the prospecting and the advertising, or trying to get new clients. And then when a couple of these existing clients leave for whatever reason they leave, then it's like, oh, well, now I need to keep prospecting or get back to prospecting or servicing. For us, it's servicing websites or Google My Businesses, things like that. Um, and it is tough to balance it. To, like, for the past 3 months, for me, I've been in this spot where I'm on the verge of hiring somebody to help me with fulfillment, and then boom, somebody leaves, and I'm like, well, I don't want to bring somebody on and then not be able to pay them, or keep them on because we don't have enough clients to service them. And it's a real bad roller coaster,
Mm-hmm.
until you get to the spot where it's a good balance.
Mm-hmm.
um, so it is tough to build up that base, and then that base kind of gets knocked down a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I think we're in the same spot in that. I know I've talked to you once or twice on a couple simple things, and you did help me with a bit of a mind shift and helping me with what I needed for myself to be not fulfilled, but to make sure that my day is complete.
Mm.
So, although we haven't had in-depth conversations, you have helped me with a couple little things. So I'm excited and nervous to be on this call here.
Cool. Well, I mean, I think that a lot of the people listening are where we are. And I've been trying to put guests on that are ahead of us. But I think it helps to just be right there in the struggle, because I'm always asking these ahead of us people, tell me about a time where you were in this hard time, and to describe it the way you just did, it's sort of like, I think about there's these life cycle, there's kind of a life cycle to humans, and there's a life cycle to businesses, and they're predictable and they have names. At least the names I know are, you kind of have a startup, go from startup to profitability, you get profitable, then you're trying to get sustainable. And that profitable to sustainable time period is such a hard, it's a house of cards, because that's where you and I are describing, like, you are just on the verge of like, okay, I got enough profitability where I can invest back in the business, I can hire somebody so that I can grow the business, and eventually the sustainability level, which is that's a tough one for most businesses to go from that profitable to sustainable, which means you have teams, you have systems, and you have processes. That's essentially what it means. It's kind of fulfilling what the Michael Gerber talks about in the E-Myth, where he talks about, developing those, a plumber says, oh, I'm a good plumber, and then goes and starts a plumbing business and realizes, oh, okay, that's the entrepreneurial myth. The E-Myth is that, oh, just because I'm good at a trade or a skill, I can run a business. Running a business is an entirely different skill set. So, trying to go from that place where you're handling it all yourself, and you're basically plate spinning and trying to make sure none of them fall over until you can actually hire somebody to start doing that. That's a scary time, and so that's where I want to shift our focus for the next several minutes here, Chuck. That when you're in that, because I've been an entrepreneur who's been purpose focused and had a strong sense of purpose, a strong why, like Simon Sinek talks about, start with why, right? But that's sort of the flavor of this podcast, is it's always being tied back to purpose, fulfillment. Success without fulfillment is not success, right? So having that purpose, and that ability to achieve goals is one thing, but to achieve goals that aren't aligned with your purpose and who you are, usually doesn't lead to ultimate fulfillment. So let's talk about that. Let's talk about, for you, when it comes to purpose, like especially when it is in these times of struggle, when you're like, okay, I just had a setback. Like, I was so freaking close to having that hire that's going to help me spin the plates. And then at the key moment, I lose a client, and now that I can't hire the person. I can't promise them that I can pay their paycheck, right? So I'm not hiring that person. And when it comes to those like setbacks, 2 steps forward, 1 step back, 2 steps back, 3, oh crap, what am I going to do? You got to have that strong sense of purpose and why. So let's talk about that. What does that bring up for you?
Well, a lot of emotion, first of all. Like, we don't have children, so a lot of people's why is their children, and their purpose is to make their children better than them, right? Like, sure. I imagine that. So for me, it's more of just my wife. Like, it's when
how long have you guys been married?
So we've been married since 2007.
Okay.
Been together since a long time. And when I got married, so it's my second marriage, okay. I wanted to make sure that I could provide her for everything, where she didn't have to work. I wanted that opportunity. So we moved to Seattle in 2004, I started a new career selling insurance out of our apartment. I didn't know what the heck I was doing. I never was a salesperson, didn't know insurance. And we struggled or I made it work for 2 years. And then I was just like, well, I want to get married. So I went to work for a company and I was making enough money. I proposed to her. And then, we were good for a few years. But then it didn't work out in that company. And I think ever since then, for me, it's just like, as an individual, I'm like, shoot, like I'm just not failing, but not living up to what I want, and what I want to provide for her. And she is cool about it. She does well enough that we don't need my income, but I certainly want to be a part of it. It's a team, right? We're a team. And when I I lost a client over the weekend, and I told her, she knew immediately. She was like, what's going on? And I was like, well, this guy left me. And she goes, oh, okay, well, that sucks. We'll just get another one. And I'm like, yeah, that's super cool. Because you got to check every 2 weeks. But I took the rest of the day to kind of, not sorrow in it, but just think about what I could have done better. And then before I went to bed that night, I was just like, yep, she's right. I'm gonna get up tomorrow and I'm gonna work, and we're just gonna make this work. So for me, it's having that strong relationship, having that teammate, that partner to just lean on or be the yin to my yang, without getting too mushy about it. So that's my purpose, I believe, but sometimes I'm like, is it really fulfilling? I don't know. I do enjoy helping other businesses. Like you said, the plumber. I'm a great plumber. And then you get out there and you're like, I don't know how to do books. What's a P&L, right?
Yeah.
So I just want to come in as their marketing company. And, I tell them, like, if something happens, don't worry about that. Like, you go out and fulfill the customers. I'm the person that you lean on to get in front of new potential customers. So as far as purpose, I know my why, but as far as purpose, like, that's one of the things that I'm kind of struggling with as I turn a century old.
Turn a century old?
Oh, half a century.
Okay.
I would look great for 100, wouldn't I?
So you're turning 50 this year?
Uh-huh.
Oh, wait, you just had a birthday, didn't you?
I did, yes.
That's right.
Yep.
So you just turned 50.
Yep.
Okay. Half a century old. Wow.
Yeah.
That is a concept, because, I'm 47, so I didn't think about that. Putting in context of centuries, I've been thinking decades. But thanks for that, Chuck. I appreciate that. Thanks. I didn't need to. I didn't need that.
You got 3 years.
But anyways, okay. So what? There's a couple of things I want to pick up on. Man, we could go super deep, because I could do a coaching session on, like, you're going deeper on your why. But I don't know if that would be, we might get a little too lost in the weeds on that. So we'll do that later. We'll do that off the show.
Right.
But,
Okay.
but what you're touching on is mindset work, right? So I want to at least go there, because I think that's something that us entrepreneurs, we run into all the time. I've talked about, and I mentioned this before we hit the record button. I've talked about on other episodes, recently, that it seems like for those of us that choose this path of entrepreneurship and building a business, trying everything we possibly can to live out a purpose, believing for something greater than ourselves, right? It's not just about, being robots and mechanical about it. We're doing this for a reason. At least that's what we're compelled to do. And it doesn't feel like a choice. And so when you're in that lowest place, or when you're in a setback time, and you're like, I don't even want to work. I can't imagine picking up the phone and trying to sell in this mood. You feel crappy. And you start thinking, gosh, maybe it'd be easier to just go get a steady paycheck. Um, Especially when the why that you alluded to is you made a promise. At least in your heart it was a promise. It doesn't sound like your wife is like, you made a promise, right? But for you, I get that as a man, you feel like, gosh, I want to be an honorable person. I want to live up to my word and what I've promised. And that thing that you promised in your heart was you wanted it to be an option for her to work. And you're not feeling that, right? You're feeling like you haven't hit that. Well, obviously you haven't hit that, but you're feeling the pain of knowing that.
Yep.
Right.
Yeah.
So it seems tempting. Like, okay, so talk to me about, have you had the thought of like, gosh, this isn't like, I'm compelled to be an entrepreneur, but this isn't the easy path. Maybe it would be easier. Maybe it would be easier to just get a job. And I don't know, have you ever looked down, how far down that road have you gone before you realize, no, I can't do that. But tell me what process you've kind of gone through for that.
Typically it's fairly short-lived. Just because I've wanted to have my own business for so long. I've always looked for side hustles and things like that. So typically it's just like, fuck, like I should just go get a job and I can have a steady paycheck. And then I think about it. I think about, well, it'd probably go into a sales job, or maybe why do I want to do that for somebody else? To be doing the same thing. It's just a little, it makes you feel better that somebody else says they're going to give you a check, right? Like I've worked for 2 companies where one company was bought by another company, and as soon as that sale was final, like they laid off a few hundred people. And then I worked for another company and they came in and said, hey, we're going to close the office here in the Seattle area, and have a good time. And so I think about those things and I'm like, no, I'm not gonna quit. I'm not gonna throw in the towel. Like, it's just not worth it to me when, like, I really don't have to. All I have to do is, wallow a little bit, learn from it, and then go on and do what you have to do. And that's just provide a good service, be honest, and move forward. Like, it's pretty simple. So I have not looked for another job. I don't know what my resume looks like, just because I don't want to do that. And it won't come to that, but I do definitely think about it.
Yeah. Well, what you're getting at is there's no guarantee with anything, right? So I've been down that road before. I was out of college. I was like working at a corporation and GE, GE Capital. I was like, dang, I'm set for life. I had my retirement plan already calculated out. If I keep putting away the 16% of my paycheck every 2 weeks, by the time I'm this age, I'll have, these millions of dollars. And I was like, so certain. But then they closed down the place and said, offered a job in Ohio, but I didn't want to go to Ohio. I'd been there. No offense to you middle people, but it wasn't an option for me at the time, that I was willing to entertain. And so my sure thing and my steady paycheck and all my certainty, turns out it wasn't. And one of the things that I realized, I call my brand Awakened Life for a reason, because there was, a time where I kind of had an awakening. Like, and one of the things that kind of woke me up was realizing that not even your next heartbeat is certain. You don't have a guarantee for anything. There's people are having stuff happen all the time. You kiss your wife, goodbye, and she goes to the grocery store. That might be the last time you see her. You don't have a guarantee for anything. So that's one thing. if you're thinking, gosh, this is the more certain path, and you're considering like, I really feel like I want to be an entrepreneur, but there's this more certain path. There is no certain path.
Mm-mm.
So what do we do as entrepreneurs? What we do is it's just a mindset work. I actually had a coach recently tell me it's just mindset and math. That's pretty much the whole thing, mindset and math. The math is, you make this number of sales calls, and some of those people will set up an appointment with you. Some of those people will close. That's the math, that's numbers. But how much of it is mindset? Like just training your brain to to create the certainty in yourself.
Mhm.
So how do you do that? Like, what are your ways that you find that certainty within yourself? Do you have like common practices you do, or does it just kind of happen organically? How does it happen for you?
It just happens organically. I try and think about, excuse me, just past wins, for lack of a better word. Where, somebody, a lot of times what happens is, um, I'll something bad will happen, or I'll lose a client. Let's stick with that. And then another client will shoot me a text. Hey, brother, I really appreciate what you've done for me and my family. Like, appreciate you sticking with me, or somebody will reach out to you that you talked to 3 months ago and they fell off the follow-up. So it's just those things happen, when you're down. And I think that is part of trying to keep your head up and stay positive. Like, things happen, like people leave you, and you could be down to your last $5 in your bank account, but you're going to spend that on something to move the needle forward, to press your business forward. And that's what happens to me. Or I'll call one of my friends or my brother, and they'll, you know not necessarily to talk about it, just to talk,
Mm-hmm.
like see what's going on with them.
Mm-hmm.
And that'll get me through that time.
Yeah, there's something about the relational aspect of that kind of fills your tank, recharges you. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense. All right, here's what I'm thinking. I'm gonna, because I know that so many people, I mean, you're not normally in a place where just recently you had a setback.
Mhm.
Um, normally you're high energy and everything, but I want to see if I can, as a performance coach, demonstrate for you and for my audience, like, hey, here's what performance coaching looks like. Let's do a little coaching right now. Are you up for that?
Yeah, I'm down. Let's
We'll
do it,
do a
dude.
little mini coaching session.
All right.
And okay, so first of all, tell me how long you have been at this game, this business.
We've had our agency since 2018.
2018. Okay.
Yep. I went full time with it in 2019. Right,
Okay.
right before, like, our path has been, we're doing well, and then something drastic happens.
Right.
Like, I was doing a full-time job and then doing this part-time, and then my full-time job said, oh, you should leave us.
Okay.
And then we're going up, and then the pandemic hits, and
Yeah.
we lose 60% of our revenue.
Right.
But
Typical
28.
stuff that
Yeah,
happens,
the
right?
roller coaster, Scott. It's the
Right.
roller
Yes.
coaster.
All right. So if nothing changes, if that pattern continues, which is maybe there's something of a pattern there, but there's also a lot of unpredictability, right?
Yeah.
But you know if we kind of take a mental picture right now of, you're at a crossroads where there's two diverging paths, right? You know, the one on the left, if you keep going the way you're going, that's the predictable future. The predictable future is the name of the path on the left. The other path, it's a little different. and we'll call that the invented future. So what is more likely to happen is the predictable future. Typically, I mean, we get predictable because, if you look at, if you go back a year from today, like 12 months ago, how were things different 12 months ago from today?
It was a little more stable.
A little more stable?
Yeah. I'm
In
trying to
what
think
way?
of where we were 2021 in May. Oh, yeah. I mean, it was pretty stable, pretty predictable what we were doing as far as a business.
Okay. Doing similar things on a daily basis, similar business practices and routines?
Yes.
Okay. All right. So then predictably in 12 months from today, to probably be doing similar business routines and similar results.
If we stick to this path, yeah.
Right. That's the predictable path, right? The
Yep.
predictable is we are humans, right? We're creatures of habit. We tend to do the same things. Now, if we are growth minded, we'll hopefully see, somewhat of a growth curve, but the invented future is something a little different. So you've got your normal growth curve, grinding it out, like the flywheel will eventually take off. But the invented future is a like hockey stick, like all of a sudden, like, so something different happened. Like that is not the same deal. Like the routines are different, the daily practices are different, the strategies and tactics are all different. Something happened. Well, the something that happened is you had a performance coaching session with Scott Landis. I mean, obviously, right? But something happened, like everybody can see, oh, wow, something changed. Okay. So that in 12 months from today, we know where the predictable future, we kind of know, right? It might be a little better, it might not be, but I can kind of imagine what it would be. It's kind of like it was last year, kind of like the way it is now, right?
Yep.
The invented future is something completely extraordinary. So if you think about it and take a little time to just visualize 12 months from today, everything changes. Finally, everything just breaks through beyond what you hope for, but in the realm of like, holy cow, like we caught a break, and wow. Do you have a sense of a picture of what that would be?
Oh, sure.
I don't want you to think about how to get there, just like what you really, really want to see in 12 months. What would that be?
Well, we'd definitely be, we'd have a few people working for us. So my business, the way we want to have it is, where I'm only working a few hours a week, and it's running on its own. And we would have
got to that sustainable level.
Yep. I also started a nonprofit late last year. So that's taking a lot of my time. So it's hard to balance that. And I want to set that position up the same way as my company. So it would be where I only come in a few hours a week, or how many hours I want to do prospecting and talk to, our business partners. And the rest of the time, the company kind of runs itself. And at that point, we'll be looking for a new place to move. Because I don't know if we want to stay in Washington for forever. And my wife said, well, like her job is here unless they move her to another place. But I said, hey, I don't know if I want to stay here. And she goes, well, if it's by water, I will move. Just follow you. And I'm like, oh, that's cool. And that sounds great, right? And you're like, oh, that's awesome. And then you think about it and you're like, Oh, well, that's a lot. That's a lot. Like
Mhm,
I can move wherever I want. So that's where we will be next year,
mhm.
is looking for another place to live.
Okay. So, and that depends on the business getting to the place where you've got the few people working for you and.
It does, because we're not going to get rid of this house. Like
Mhm,
I said, my wife, her company is here,
uh-huh,
uh, and this is where she'll be until they move her. So we're going to keep this house, and we'll just have another place, someplace else to build
sure.
our future
Mhm, yeah.
or
Um,
retirement. How's that?
yeah, you'll have multiple homes.
Uh-huh.
Okay. All right, but so the big domino for all that to happen is it to fall into place is to have the business get to a certain level,
Correct.
and you see that level. How close to that level are you?
We're probably about a third of the way there.
Okay,
Uh,
so what has to
maybe a
happen for
quarter,
you?
somewhere in there.
Okay, what has happened for you to have that guaranteed? That 12 months from today that you would have that, what would guarantee that for you?
Well, we only need a few more business partners or a few more clients, in order for that to be successful. And I say a few, between 10 and 15, which really isn't that much, but is that much,
Okay.
um, if that makes sense. Did that answer
So
the question?
so you're saying your clients are business partners, that's what you're saying?
Yes. Yes.
Okay, okay,
Yep.
because they consider you a partner in the business that they're partnering with you to grow their organic strategy marketing.
Correct. Yes. Another part of our business is we have our own digital assets.
Mhm,
So we have our own websites,
mhm.
that we have used our own capital or are using our own capital
Gotcha,
to get where we get phone calls, and then we find a business to transfer those
gotcha.
phone calls to.
So you're kind of bolting on and from the client's perspective, it's like you offer them something that just bolt on that what they already have existing, and it's a win-win.
Yep.
That's why you consider them partners. Okay, cool. It's like a
Yes.
joint venture. You're creating this, well, gosh, I want this for my business now that I'm hearing this.
Right.
We'll have to talk about that too. All right, cool. So the big question is, what so in order, the big domino is that you would have 10 to 15 of these partners, right?
Mhm.
In 12 months from today, if that was to happen, it would, you can't just keep going the way you're going, can you?
No.
Okay, so you're going to have to do something bigger, better, more efficient, stronger, more courageous, more fearless.
Yep.
So I want you to think, this is brainstorm. It's not going, if you come up with this bold action and, later on you're like, no, that's just crazy. I can't actually catch a bullet with my fingers. I can't do it. But I want you to just let yourself be unencumbered by reality. There's zero restrictions. Anything's possible. What bold action would guarantee that you would have those 10 to 15 and 12 months? If you identify the thing that makes it inevitable, it's just a question of can you do it or not, right? So I don't want you to question how. I want you to say what would have to happen if it was a bold action that would have to happen that would guarantee those 10 to 15 partners in 12 months.
Whoa. Um,
And I'm talking about something you do in the next 30 days.
uh, yeah. I just need to get out there more. I don't know if that's really the correct answer though.
It doesn't sound very bold.
It
Just need to
doesn't.
get out there. Can you be a little more specific?
Is that very confident, right? Uh Man, I don't know. Like I haven't really thought about like what would catapult that. Like I always just think, hey, just got to advertise more. You got to make more phone calls.
Mhm.
Um,
And that's all great because you can go down that. That's the predictable path, right? That's the predictable future. That's fine. That's an option. What we're trying to do is say, hey, what if we tried this other? Because the predictable is like, it's a nice groomed path. You just keep walking down it. The invented future path, the one that goes off to the right, it's a little hairy. You're gonna have to take your machete and get it, chopped off, and so that you can walk down it. Right? It's gonna take a little work. It's not the comfortable way, but I'm talking about like I think that you need to like let the resistors down and just say what would have to happen. Maybe you need to think, okay, what if somebody who is one of the sharks on Shark Tank, what if that guy stepped into your chair, sat in your chair and sat down and said, okay, all right, I know what I need to do. What if the guy who has no limitations on their mind sat down? What would that person do or have to do to make it inevitable to have 10 to 15 partners in the next 12 months?
you know what? Like, I'm gonna be honest. Like, it's just I don't prospect enough. Like, I really don't. It's more of a referral based business.
Uh-huh.
And what I tell people when I talk to them is you can't grow on a referral based business. That's cool, but you can't really grow on that. You
Mhm.
only get to a certain point.
Mhm.
And I know that's not like a grand thing, but it's just it's prospecting.
Most of the time, business isn't rocket science, right? It's just business, right?
It's
So it's not, I mean, it's normal that it would be, oh, I got to prospect more. Okay, but let's make that a bold action, right? Because, oh yeah, I got to get out there more, got to prospect more. No, what is the bold action that's going to, again, you already have your predictable, you'll get there eventually. This is something that's going to guarantee, like if you could do it in the next 30 days, and it would, the 11 months for this 12-month goal will kind of just fall into place. But you need to make a bold action in the next 30 days. Like it's hockey stick up, and then all of a sudden you're on a different path that makes it inevitable. In 12 months, you've got 10 to 15 partners. What would that bold action be? I'm not talking about for the rest of your life. For the next 30 days, Chuck, what is the bold action that you could do?
Well, like I hate this, man. And here's why I hate this. Because I have always been the person like, well, if you say you're gonna do it, then you have to do it because it's out there, right?
But I already said you get to, it's just brainstorming.
I,
You might, again, if you say accidentally say, I got to catch a bullet with my fingers, I mean, you can say, well, maybe that's not a good idea. You can always back off. It's okay. Take that hindrance off.
So if I reached out to 25 business owners a day for the next 30 days, it would put me to where I want to be.
Okay. It'd make it.
And that's not even that hard, really. Like when you really think about it, but it's as an introvert, and it's tough to say that out loud, and it's tough to do that. You go through enough no's. Nobody likes to be rejected, but you get, every time somebody gives you a no, you get closer to a yes.
Right. All right. So you said 25 business owners a day for 30 days.
Yep.
Okay.
That's not much, right?
So that's 750.
150 times 20. Now 150 times 4, right? Because it's 150 a week.
150 a
right?
week. Okay. 150 times 4.
25 so times 5. Yeah.
So you need 600. Now you don't know 600 business owners, so you're going to have to come up with a strategy that multiplies, right?
Yep.
All right. Can you come up with the first 50 names?
Oh, yeah, you could cold call 50, and that's all it'd be doing is cold calling.
All right. Well, for sake of time, we can't go to the next level, but I think you kind of get the idea. If somebody's listening, right, what would be next from here is we would, and we can pick this up, privately, Chuck, later on. But the next step would just be, okay, we kind of identified the target. Now we just got to come up with how, let's come up with a strategy. And I know that there's that like, but if I say it, I might have to do it. But here's what I'm confident that we could come up with a strategy that you are actually excited about, because it will tie into purpose, and it will tie into your why. And believe me, I will, jujitsu the heck out of your why and make it so you're like, okay, uncle, I gotta do this, right? But so that all of a sudden you're like, the pain of staying the same is so horrific that the pain of change is actually feels pretty good. I would actually, that's not that hard. I could do that. And you're excited about it. And you're like, the strategy is to get 600 people. Actually, that's easy. The 600 seemed, for 5 minutes ago, seemed really hard, but all of a sudden, now that we talked about a strategy that I'm excited about, that makes sense, that, it actually would be easy. I just, now all's left to do is say, well, do I want to do it? Do I want to, I could still go back to the predictable path, right? But the inventive path, actually, it's pretty exciting because it would guarantee a transformation.
Mhm. Sounds more fun, right?
Yeah.
I mean,
So I
scary,
probably,
but fun.
exactly. Yeah. Scary, but fun. And that's what, I don't know, that's what, I mean, it's literally a transforming, the thinking will transform your results, which will transform your life.
Mhm.
That would be a different life for 12 months from today. All right,
Right?
cool. Well, thanks for going through that with me, Chuck. So I want to just kind of, because we're kind of at time. This is a different style than we've had up to now, but I appreciate you being flexible with it. But let's leave it with what's next for you. If okay, so you're gonna accomplish that goal after that. So down the road, 5-10 years from now, do you have like a what's next on that on the horizon that way?
No, like I haven't really thought about. I mean, you think about that, but I don't think about that. Like we have goals and where we want to be in life. But like for me, it's always going to be working. Not necessarily working, but always having something to do, because I don't think it's my dad retired 3 different times because he just, 3 weeks, 4 weeks into it, he's like, that was fun. Now what am I going to do with my time, right?
Mhm.
So it's just a matter of like getting my wife to where she wants to be, and then getting her out of that, or having the opportunity to get her out of that,
Mhm.
um, and then just pressing on. Like she wants to get an RV and travel the United States, and I don't want to drive an RV. It sounds fun to have an RV, but I don't want to drive a diesel pusher. That's a lot of
Mhm.
truck.
Yeah.
So
So
as far as 5-10 years down the road,
where's
I'd
your,
like
so
to.
you guys are travelers, right? You like to travel. Where's your dream destination that you guys have on your list?
Uh, beaches,
Just
just
like the water.
beaches,
Mhm.
the water. It's
Where's the best beach what's the top of your list?
man. So I the best beach that I had was Jarvis Beach down in Australia.
Mm.
Um, it's pretty white sands. We were down there in winter time, so there wasn't a lot of people. It wasn't great weather, but it was just pretty sand. The water looked clear, although it was super cold.
Hmm.
Um, but there's beaches like that here, like Panama City. There's great
Mhm.
beaches.
Mhm.
We're just down in Tampa, Florida, Clearwater, Florida. We went to White Sandy Beach down there. It was awesome.
Mhm.
Um, not super fond of the humidity, but
Hmm.
I like the beach.
Mhm. Yeah, well, anytime you're by the ocean breeze, it's kind of bearable, especially because you're usually in a swimsuit, so humidity
Right?
doesn't really
It's
apply.
it's nice. We got married on a beach, so I think that's kind of our happy place.
Yeah, my favorite so far, if I'll name them and tell me if you've been there yet. Punta Cana was amazing. Been there a couple times.
Nope.
Uh, Santorini in Greece. It's not really,
Love to go there to Greece.
yeah. And that's that interior of a cauldron, like a old volcano, but the ocean is in the volcano. So it's like
Man,
this banana shape. It's just amazing. But there's some beaches there, but just the place is just like crazy good. And then Cinque Terre, Italy, northern Italy, like Italian Riviera kind of area.
mm,
French Riviera is good too, but I preferred the Italian side for some reason.
huh,
But yeah, those are my top three right there.
yeah. Haven't been over to Europe or any of those beaches over there. We haven't like as soon as we get ready to like hey, this year was going to be a traveling year for us, and then my wife took on a new job or new position, so that cut out any of the traveling except for the two
Mhm.
things that we had. But we definitely want to get over. Greece is on our list.
Cool.
uh,
Well,
so
maybe that goes on your 5 to 10 year time horizon.
right, yeah, I think so.
By the way, have you been to any of my strategic planning sessions?
No.
Okay, so June 29th. So this is for Chuck and my audience. Mark your calendar. June 29th is the next strategic planning session. And this is kind of some of the stuff we talk about. So go to strategic. Are you on a browser right now?
I'm typing my notes in.
Okay, strategic.awakenlifeacademy.com. It will redirect you to, I know that's a big URL, but strategic.awakenlifeacademy.com. I'm into like big, hard to spell words apparently, but that'll get you to a sign up page where you can for free attend June 29th strategic planning session. And Chuck, we're gonna like vision that stuff out. We're gonna get your mind wrapped around the beaches in Greece, which, oh my gosh, amazing. We were in Mykonos too, and just like so many islands. Like you get a boat there. Oh my gosh! So we're gonna strategic out. You're gonna get the vision for your 10 years, and we're gonna work it back to this inventive future for the next 12 months, and then for the next quarter, you're gonna be so dialed in, high performance, changing your life. And so anybody who wants to join me and Chuck on June 29th, go to strategic.awakenlifeacademy, and it would be great to have you there. All right, Chuck. Well, I appreciate you being on the Awaken Life podcast. Thank you so much. I got to know you a little bit better today by talking to you. And thank you for your time. So if anybody's looking for, like I mentioned at the beginning, this is a trustworthy dude. He is a contributor. He's been in our mastermind group. So I've seen him like invest in people and give, and he's generous heart. And if you're his client, he's going to take care of you. And you have this like this partnership thing that it's just like, it's a no-brainer. It's such a great model. We should have gone a little deeper into it. But so here's the call to action. Get a hold of Chuck. Chuck, how can they get a hold of you if they need some help with their marketing and they want one of those bolt-on web traffic driving crazy, growth business models bolted on? How do they get a hold of you?
You can just go to my website. It's HoSquaredMarketing.com. You can reach out to us. We have our phone number there. We have a cool thing where we evaluate your website. We do a video and give you a PDF and actionable items and things like that. So it's exciting. I do want to mention that, like, I think back to when I was working, and you'd mentioned the strategic Awaken Life Academy. That's something that I haven't done, and I think that as an entrepreneur, you definitely need a coach to help you do that. So I'm excited about that. So I appreciate you inviting me to that.
Cool. Well, it'd be great to have you there. All right. So we're going to put all of these links in the show notes. So if you heard these and you didn't get to write them down because you're driving, hopefully you don't, not writing while you're driving. But anyways, we'll have it in the show notes. And obviously, if you're getting this on the Facebook page, just comment below. You can I'll get you connected to all this stuff. We'll tag Chuck in the social post. So we're going to blow you up, Chuck, because all
Yeah.
5 of the people that listen to this podcast are, at least one of them is going to want to get their SEO dialed in. So anyways, Chuck, I appreciate it. It's been fun. And thank you so much for being on the podcast.
Awesome. Thank you.